Welcome to MASN All Access. Thanks for joining the show. I'm Sara Perlman, joined by MASNsports.com beat writer for the Orioles, Roch Kubatko. Happy Monday, everyone. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July. Roch, I know you were working, like always, nonstop. How you doing?
I've been up since 4:30 to catch a flight. I'm good. I'm fresh. I'm ready to go.
You don't look tired.
I could be traded any minute because I think everybody right now is on alert. They could
I
be
think
dealt.
so, too.
I could be packaged with the Manny Machado in the deal.
You might be.
I think the Dodgers are interested in me.
Yeah?
I've heard.
So wherever he goes, you go as the beat writer.
Yes, that's it. Someone's got to cover him. I don't know.
The news outlet reached out to you and said, come on with Manny Machado.
Yeah.
Okay. Manny Machado voted into the All-Star game as the American League shortstop, his 4th All-Star game in just 7 Major League appearances. This might be the most incredible one for him, only because he's off to the best offensive start of his career, and also as a shortstop when he was third base the majority of his career. How impressed are you with him, and how excited are you for this guy?
I mean, I'm impressed just that he hasn't been distracted by everything. And I know it's a contract year, so a lot of times guys step up in that situation. And it's not a new position; it's like his new old position because he was a shortstop. But nonetheless, I mean, he's bombarded with questions about his status, trade-wise and free agency. Different cities we go to. Didn't happen in Minnesota. The Twins aren't a player for him. But Chicago, Philly, New York, whatever, LA, people are waiting at his locker. He's been very cooperative. He'll do the interview first day. Let's get it out of the way. You would just think there's so many things going on right now in his head that it'd be hard for him to go out there and play such a difficult sport at such a high level, and he's been able to do that. I've been impressed by that. And again, there are so many really good shortstops. It's interesting that there are positions that are loaded. Shortstop was one of them.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you see like catcher, not so much. They were doing the balloting on the catchers, and they announced, Wilson Ramos, and everybody's like, he's an all-star? It's like, well, nothing against him. But
there could have been 5 shortstops.
There aren't a ton of them. But yeah, shortstop, you could have picked legitimately 5 guys. So for Manny to finish first, and again, a position fans aren't used to seeing him at, I thought that was pretty impressive. Yeah,
the fans voted. They loved him. He had the lead the majority, if not all of the balloting. So that was really exciting
And I did
him.
think it was funny. We talking Buck was wondering whether he would get enough votes because, attendance here compared to some other cities is down. And I had to kind of explain, they have the internet. And
it's a new thing.
Yeah, I don't think they hand out the paper ballots anymore at the ballpark, and which I used to love as a kid. You'd punch the little
I've
hole.
never done that with a paper ballot.
You're a youngster.
Yes, I'm online voting.
But yeah, so it's like really it doesn't matter what city, the attendance, whatever. People can just vote at home, and I'm sure they did that.
Well, huge congratulations to Manny Machado, and thank you for all the fans for voting. That's really exciting for him going down the street to Nats Park, and he'll be obviously playing in that All-Star game.
Maybe.
Yes. Well, I guess we'll see. We'll get into that. He's batting .313, 21 home runs. He's been incredible this season. You see it right there. 60 RBI on a team that hasn't produced much at the plate, so that's even more impressive. So good for Manny Machado.
And you would think they just keep pitching around him because so many guys aren't hitting. So I'm impressed that he's had enough opportunities. Yeah, because legitimately there was a stretch whether it was Davis batting 4th, Scope, and I'm thinking, why would you throw this guy a strike? And yet he's still producing.
Yeah, I don't know why they would. I wouldn't. But
I just hold up 4 fingers and say go. We'll take
go
the
ahead.
next guy.
Next. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. 60 RBI, incredible for Manny Machado. Now, Roch, you kind of just hinted at it. You're not sure if he's going to be going down the street to Nationals Park for the All-Star game this season. That being said, there's a good chance he gets traded and pretty soon. We talked earlier, he might be on the clock as we speak. A lot of teams are interested, 7 in particular. You talked about it on MASNsports.com on your blog. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I figure no matter what happens, he'll at least get introduced. He may not be playing in the game. If he goes to the National League, they already have a starting shortstop. So he would not play, but he would still get introduced. And I don't think he gets traded to American League teams. So I think if this happens, he's not playing. Also, the Orioles don't have to have a representative if that happens. If a guy gets injured or is traded, every team doesn't have to be repped anymore. So there's a possibility the Orioles might not have a representative in a game that's right down the street. But, really at any time now, a trade could go down. I mean, we knew there were offers from at least 7 clubs. I was told Dodgers and Diamondbacks were like 1 and 2, and the Brewers were 3. Now there's some reports that the Brewers may have moved up. The Phillies are in there, right? Exactly. Okay. Kind of the usual suspects, the Cubs, but not as much as they were over the winter. Interesting that the Phillies or the Cardinals were like the most aggressive team at the winter meetings. It just shows how things changed. I don't think they look at themselves as a team that's going to really get back into it. So they're not a factor at all right now. But I think the Dodgers maybe, and Diamondbacks, Brewers would be like your 3 right there. And there's words getting out quite easily that, hey, they're really close. I think the Orioles would kind of like to see them going head to head. Oh, really? We can't let, especially if you're the 2 teams in the West, Dodgers and Diamondbacks, well, we don't want them to get them. So, okay, we'll give you this other guy.
That's the best way to do it.
Happen.
Make them keep fighting against each other. Who can give the better offer?
So I think this could happen at any time.
Roch, will it be a package deal?
There's a chance of that. I know that they've talked to the Orioles about packaging with Machado with Britton. Brock's name has come up, Givens' name has come up. And, players know that too. I hear in the clubhouse, they're like, hey, is there a chance there's going to be a package deal? Like, these guys are following this.
Do you think they'd prefer
closely.
that, to have another teammate to go with?
They probably wouldn't mind that, right, at this point. And you're going to a contender no matter who it is. So I think at this point, you're just kind of like, hey, what city do you like more than the other one? But I think they're certainly open to just going right now, just to have some resolution to this. It's hanging over this whole clubhouse. It's hard enough you show up, you're now 41 games under 500. You're playing for pride, your stats. You've got to kind of motivate yourself to go there because you could win, like Scope said yesterday. We're capable. We could win like 20 games. I'm like, you'd still be 21 below 500. I mean, that's just a reality right now. So I think there are guys that just, first of all, they just want a solution to this, a resolution. And I think there's some excitement, even though they love being in Baltimore, and it'd kind of be bittersweet to have a chance to get in a pennant race. But there could be a package deal. Givens, I'm told, is the one, because he's under team control through 2021, that the Orioles, it'd be very tough for them to move him. Because that's, they're looking for young pitchers who are under team control and a guy who could be their closer of the future here. That said, if you can get a blockbuster type deal, and because you're including a Michael Givens, you certainly have to consider it.
Just going back on that, I don't want the fans to think the team wants to be traded, and I know you kind of hinted at it. It's exciting for them, right? They want to contend. They want to be on a team that contends and have a winning mentality.
Right.
The Orioles are 41 games below 500, so it's a little tough for them right now, and I think they're looking forward to seeing what happens. And like you said, not be distracted. That's a whole other thing to talk about.
Well, I think they just like the clarity. Even if they were told this won't happen.
They have families. They got to think about these kind of things.
If they're told, hey, look, you're not going to get traded, they wouldn't be so upset about it. They would just like to know one way or another. Am I staying? Am I going? Because it must be unsettling. And you're right. They have families, too, to show up at the ballpark every day saying, is this the day and when?
I got to pick up and move.
Yeah, so I think they just want it resolved one way or the other. Like, make the move if you're going to, or, and again, I don't expect this to happen, but be told, you're staying through the end of the season. At least they know that.
Exactly. For everyone watching, you remember last season when Zach Britton was almost traded to the Astros and then, of course, was not. And Roch, I know you remember that. Yes, you remember that. So as far as this season, he dealt with the injury, came back from this Achilles surgery. He's closing, retired the side a few times now. Scouts have said he looks good. Is there a chance it could be a possible trade and a good one? I know you talked about packaging it with Manny Machado.
Yeah, or even on his own. I mean, scouts I talked to, even when he wasn't particularly sharp, they were like, look, this is kind of like him still going through his spring training. So they weren't judging him based on, hey, he walked a guy here, or or his velocity's a little bit down. They were expecting that. Now, with his last outing, it's funny because he goes, hey, did you see the speed on that from me? And I said, yeah, you were like 97. He goes, no, when I covered first base. I'm like, oh, that's speed. Because that was one of the things he had to show with the Achilles surgery. The 3-1 put out, that he could break off the mound, get to the bag, not even give it a thought, didn't blow out the Achilles again. So that was more important to him than anything else. I thought he meant the fastball being a tick or two up. But, he's
saw
fine.
That too.
Yeah. So right now he's kind of in that groove that we were expecting. So there was a lot of interest in him, for sure. And I don't think scouts need to see, well, there haven't been a lot of save chances for Zach. But I don't think they're worried about that. What's the difference? If he's pitching the 7th or the 8th or the 9th, it's still, here's his stuff. Here's what he's got. Here's how healthy he is. They already know he can save games. And, Buck's been able to kind of use him. He said, not ideally because they don't have save situations, but it's not like, well, we're running him out there a lot. At this point, you can give him a couple days, run him back out there because, there are no leads anyway for him. Otherwise, he'd be pitching 2-3 straight days, saving games. But I think scouts are watching him now and saying, this guy looks like he's back and he can help us.
Yeah, not to mention he's a guy that converted an American League record saves a few seasons ago. So I guess we'll see what happens.
We know he's capable.
He's very capable.
He has closed games before.
Yes, I think so. I've seen him do it once or twice.
Good.
And Brad Brock, same thing. You think obviously that he's going to be a free agent. There's a good chance he get moved as well.
It's another guy. All the pending free agents are kind of on the table. And with Brad, teams can look at him as a guy who could close for him. He can be a 7th inning guy, can be an 8th inning guy. He's kind of worked in a lot of different roles with the club and a really good track record. And I know people, because he's had some problems when he's needed to close and he's not Zach Britton, there are a lot of people that have the perception, oh man, this guy, he's been having a tough stretch. Before the last outing that he struggled, and he'd been scoreless in like 9 of 10. It's just kind of like under the radar with him. And again, because there haven't been a lot of save situations now. So sometimes he'll come in the 7th and you don't even notice it at that point, So he's another guy that interests a lot of clubs. And just anybody who's a pending free agent for sure is on the table because the Orioles would like to get something back.
Okay. Now, finally, Adam Jones. He's going to be a free agent, but he could approve or obviously disapprove any trade that he wants to because of his status. If you're Adam Jones, you probably want to go to a team that can contend.
Right.
Do you think he'll approve a move if it makes sense?
I think so, but I know the club hadn't approached him last time we checked at least to see if he would waive those 10-5 rights. But to me, it's like, why would you do that until you have a deal that you think is pretty much set? Because you're not just going to say, hey, we don't have anything yet. I don't even know what city it's going to be in, but can we trade you? Because Adam's probably going to respond, well, I'd like to know where. Like, I think more than likely he would approve it. He has a chance to go and play for a contender, maybe get in the playoffs, try and get in a World Series. And then as a free agent, you can choose where you go. And maybe the Orioles try and re-sign him at that point. It's happened before. They did it with Bordick, for example. But I don't think now would be the time to approach him if you don't have a firm offer. It's interesting you haven't heard him connected to any teams. I think that's odd where you've heard a lot with Britton, you've heard a lot with Machado. And Adam, again, we talked about this in the offseason. Nobody was talking about Adam being the pending free agent because we were so consumed with the other guys.
Exactly.
It's like, by the way, here's arguably the face of the franchise.
Yes.
And no one's talking about him.
And one
as
of the
free
most
agent.
consistent players in Orioles history. It's not like he hasn't proved himself over the past 10 years.
And any other year, he would have been the storyline,
You're right.
the focus of the offseason. And right now, it just seems like oh, by the way, there's also Adam Jones, which really strikes me as odd.
It's because we're talking about Manny Machado this
all
whole
the time. And then Britton, because of the Achilles, can he become a trade chip, whatever. So Adam has really been flying under the radar. But definitely, there's some interest there in him. We just have not heard any teams connected to him at this point, and whether they would look at him as a center fielder or whether they look at him as a right fielder.
Okay. True. Well, finally, let's talk about Markakis, only because I never had the opportunity to cover him, but you did for many years, Roch. Finally, his first All-Star game.
Finally.
Yes. With the Braves, and you said he wasn't even that comfortable with them promoting him on the screen because he's an under-the-radar guy. But huge congratulations to him. I know a lot of Orioles fans were excited, I saw on social media yesterday, about that one.
Yeah, I thought it was cool that he was voted in, had the most votes of any of the outfielders for a guy who has never played before. It's like, what suddenly made people say, hey, this guy deserves
this guy a chance.
He's having a great year and he's never made it. I mean, it was the logical choice, but a lot of times when a guy has gone that many years and hasn't made it and isn't a big self-promoter, is not on social media, they kind of get ignored. So good for the fans for recognizing it. But yeah, Nick, we talked to him, we were in Atlanta, and I heard the interview yesterday. He's excited about it for his kids, who are now old enough to know what daddy does. And for his wife, who's been pushing him for years to promote himself more. Like, she told me once he wouldn't even own a cell phone if he didn't have to.
Unbelievable.
Like, he wants to be in a tree stand.
I like
hunting.
that.
He wants to be home with the kids during this time. He's kind of doing this reluctantly, but he's doing it for his family. And he did. The Braves were promoting him and the other Braves, like, please vote for whatever.
Yeah, of course.
And he asked them to take that down from the scoreboard, because it just made him uncomfortable.
Even better.
Nick's a different guy.
Yes. Well, that's honestly really cool, really great for him. In case you're just tuning in right now, Roch Kubatko, MaxSports.com beat writer for the Orioles, just broke down really any trade situation that could go down any day. 7 possible teams looking out for Manny Machado, and of course maybe to tie that in with Brad Brock, Zach Britton, even Michael Givens, and possibly Adam Jones. So you can go back and watch that right after we're finished. Roch Kubatko, thank you so much.
Thanks.
You got to get ready for this doubleheader.
I do. And for a possible trade. Something could have happened while we were talking.
You better
we
go
don't even
check
know
your
it.
phone.
I will.
All right, Roch, thank you so much. I'm Sara Perlman from Mass and All Access. Thanks for watching.